Return My Twins, a story by Loveth African Stories. I fell to my knees, trembling. Please, don't kill me, I cried, tears flooding my eyes. But the ghost didn't stop. Her face was twisted in rage as she floated closer, her voice echoing like a curse. Return my twins, Nurse Beatrice, return my twins. I froze, my body stiff with fear. My breath caught in my throat. I knew that voice. I knew that face. But I didn't want to believe it. Panic took over. I jumped up and ran deeper and deeper into the forest, shouting, stumbling, not knowing where I was going. She chased me, gliding behind like smoke, repeating those same chilling words. Return my twins. Suddenly, I heard someone calling me, distant at first. Beatrice. Wake up. Beatrice. A hand shook me hard. I gasped and opened my eyes. It was morning. Sunlight poured through the window. My mother stood over me, her face drawn with worry. Thank God, it was just a dream, I whispered, though my voice trembled. My whole body was soaked in sweat. But I knew better. It wasn't just any dream. It was the second time. I pressed a hand to my chest. My heart was pounding like it wanted to escape my body. Everything felt so real, the forest, the fear, her voice, her eyes. And she knew my name. Why now? Why was she coming back? I sat there, lost in thought, trying to calm myself. But my mother's eyes were fixed on me, her voice low and careful. Beatrice, what's going on with you? This nightmare, it's not the first time. Talk to me. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not yet. I stood up quickly. Mum, please. I'm late for work. I need to get dressed, I said, already walking toward the bathroom. Even under the shower, the dream wouldn't stop playing in my mind. Her voice. Her face. The pain in her eyes. And those words. Return my twins. After bathing, I slipped into my white nurse gown and black shoes. I paused in front of the mirror. On the outside, I looked neat, beautiful, confident. But on the inside, I was shaken to my core. I stepped out of the house, determined to go to work. But the dream clung to me like a stain I couldn't wash off. It's just a dream, I whispered to myself. But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't true. That face. That voice. That name she called me by. I knew who she was. I knew what she wanted. And I knew why she was coming. My name is Beatrice. I'm a nurse at Mercy Gate Maternity Hospital, one of the most talked about hospitals in the city. Clean corridors, smiling nurses, modern equipment, and the name that made it all shine, Dr. Gideon. To outsiders, he's a respected medical figure. A rich man who lives abroad and returns to Nigeria just twice a year to monitor his empire. But if only they knew what we, the workers, went through behind those polished hospital walls. We were barely surviving. Our salaries came late, when they came at all. Sometimes we waited months, borrowing money, skipping meals, watching bills pile up like dirty laundry. And still, I stayed. Why? Because leaving wasn't an option. Not when I had a widowed mother, 3 siblings looking up to me, and a mountain of debt from the loan she took just to put me through nursing school. I knew what it took to get this job. People bought opportunities with names, power, and connections, things I didn't have. In a system like ours, girls like me don't get second chances. So, even with the meager pay, I found a way to survive. I'd cut corners, skip meals, stretch every naira just to send a little something home. I became a silent soldier, fighting battles no one could see. But even in my suffering, I poured my soul into that hospital. I was the nurse with the warm hands and the listening ears. I treated every pregnant woman like my own sister, comforting, laughing, reassuring them in their worst moments. Soon, they began to ask for me by name. Some would even cry if they were assigned to someone else. They trusted me. Some even tipped me, not out of pity, but out of genuine gratitude. And in those moments, I felt like I mattered. But purpose doesn't pay rent. Kindness doesn't settle hospital debts. Smiles don't put food on the table. Month after month, the pressure mounted. Rent notices. School fees. My mother's failing health. And I I was slowly drowning in silence. Until one day, the devil came to me. He saw my struggle, my desperation, and he knew exactly what to offer. He didn't speak in riddles. He didn't hide in shadows. He came out in the open, tempting me with something I couldn't resist. Money. A way out. A solution to everything. At first, I fought him off. Told myself I was strong, that I could make it. But the devil wasn't one to back down. He wore my desperation like armor, and it didn't take long before I gave in. I wish I could say I fought harder. I wish I could say I stood my ground. But I didn't. I gave in. And that was the beginning of a nightmare I can never wake up from. It all started one afternoon as I headed toward my evening shift. The sun beat down, and my thoughts were heavy with worries. My mind was so consumed that I barely noticed the car horn honking behind me at first. When I finally turned around, there she was. A stunning woman stepped out of a sleek black car. Her presence was undeniable, magnetic. With every step she took toward me, it was clear this woman wasn't just rich. She was someone of power, someone well connected. You could feel it in the air, in the way she held herself. "Hello," she said, her smile bright but deliberate. "Good afternoon, Ma," I greeted, my words stumbling out of my mouth, my heart racing. "I'm Madam Rich," she introduced herself with a confidence that made everything around us seem to fade into the background. "And you are?" I froze, caught off guard by the unexpected encounter. Madam Rich. Was that really her name? It felt too perfect, too fitting for someone like her. "Beatrice," I finally managed to say, my voice trembling slightly. Her gaze sharpened, almost as if she was studying me. "I see you're a nurse," she remarked, almost casually. "Yes," I answered, still trying to make sense of the situation. She paused for a moment, her eyes glinting with something I couldn't quite place. "I'm in a bit of a rush, but I'd like to talk to you about something very important," she said, pulling out her phone. "Can I have your number?" I hesitated, wondering what her intentions were. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could say a word, Madam Rich dipped into her purse, pulled out a small, glossy card, and placed it in my hand with a smile that made my heart skip a beat. "Don't worry about the number," she said, her smile widening, almost as if she were up to no good. "This is my card. Please call me. You won't regret it. I have a big business deal that will change your life, and I know you won't want to miss it." Her words lingered in the air as she walked back to her car, leaving me standing there, completely stunned. "Wait, Ma," I called out, but she was already gone, her car disappearing down the road. I looked down at the card in my hand, my heart pounding. A business deal? With me? A nurse barely surviving, with debts piling up and a sick mother depending on me? I stood frozen. The silence around me was loud with questions. That night, sleep became a stranger. I tossed and turned, haunted by her words. "Call me tonight. This deal will change your life." Could it really be? I didn't want to believe it. But desperation has a way of pushing you into places you never imagined. I reached for my old, worn-out phone. My hands trembled as I stared at the card again. Her number was neatly printed. The ink might have been dry, but the words screamed louder than ever. "Call me tonight." I hesitated. My chest tightened. My throat went dry. Then I pressed the call button. The first time, the line didn't connect. I tried again. This time, it rang. After a long pause, she picked up. "Hello, good evening," she said in a soft, amused voice. "Good evening, Ma. I'm Nurse Beatrice. You gave me your card earlier today. You told me to call you tonight." "Oh, the beautiful nurse I met this morning," she interrupted, laughing lightly. "What's funny?" I wondered. "Yes, Ma," I replied, trying to hide my confusion. "Beatrice," she repeated my name slowly, like she was savoring it. "I told you I have a business deal for you. One that will fetch you millions." "Millions?" I echoed, stunned. My heart skipped. "Yes. Millions," she said again, her voice calm but chilling. "And I want you to be part of it." My voice cracked. "Ma, how? What kind of business is this?" She laughed again, soft, unsettling. like a witch in a fairy tale. Calm down, Beatrice. That's why I want to see you. Let me show you everything in person. Come over this weekend. Let's say Sunday. I'll send you my address. Once you arrive, just call me. But please, don't miss this opportunity of a lifetime. The call ended, her last words echoing in my head like a haunting melody. I sat on my bed, clutching the phone. Millions, just like that. Who even is this woman? Why me? Why not someone in her family? What kind of business changes a life overnight? I paced the room, too restless to sleep. My thoughts raced, tangled in fear and curiosity. Even at work the next day, I couldn't focus. My patients' voices faded beneath the thunder in my mind. Who is Madame Cash? What is she planning? Then came Sunday. I sat on the edge of my bed, eyes fixed on the message she sent. 10, Magnolia Drive, Old GRA District. My heart thumped like a drum in my chest. That wasn't just any address, it was one of the most exclusive estates in town. People whispered about that place like it was heaven behind high gates. So, she wasn't bluffing. She really was rich. Very rich. I pulled out my sharp purple gown, the one I saved for special occasions, and got dressed. Her voice echoed in my mind. A deal that will fetch you millions. Without wasting time, I grabbed my bag and rushed outside. As if fate was in on the plan, a taxi was waiting at the corner like it knew I'd need it. Old GRA, Magnolia Drive, I told the driver, my voice firmer than I felt. As the car pulled away, silence fell. I stared out the window, watching buildings blur past, but I wasn't seeing any of them. A knot twisted in my stomach. Beatrice, are you sure you're not walking into trouble? I whispered to myself. What if Madame Cash wasn't who she said she was? What if this business deal was something dark, something dangerous? An hour later, we reached the estate. The gate alone looked like it cost more than my entire life. When the taxi stopped, I stepped out and just stood there, frozen. The house was breathtaking. Not just big, majestic. The kind of house you only see in Nollywood films or on magazine covers. My eyes widened. I turned to ask the taxi driver if this was really the place, but he'd already sped off before I could speak. I pulled out my phone, double-checked the address. It matched. Some people are truly swimming in money, I muttered under my breath. My hand trembled slightly as I dialed her number. She picked on the first ring, like she'd been waiting by the phone. Hello, Ma. It's Beatrice. I'm standing in front of your house. Oh, Beatrice. Welcome, she said cheerfully. I'll send someone to come get you. The line ended. A few moments later, a well-dressed housekeeper appeared, opened the gate, and silently led me inside. Without a word, I stepped into Madame Cash's house, and for a second, I froze. The place was stunning, sparkling chandeliers, expensive furniture, marble floors shining like mirrors. It was like something straight out of a movie. You're welcome, she said with a wide smile. Thank you, Ma, I replied politely, slowly sinking into the velvet chair. What would you like to eat or drink? She asked, still smiling. I'm okay, Ma, I lied. Truth was, I was starving. But thank God, Madame Cash understood the assignment, the packaging. She saw through it. Not in my house, she said firmly. You must taste something. Before I could argue, food and drink were placed in front of me. I couldn't resist. She insisted, and I gave in. I ate, and she waited calmly, silently until I finished. Then she leaned forward, her voice smooth like butter. Beatrice, thank you for coming. You're welcome, Ma, I said, trying to remain composed. I could sense she was about to land the main point, and I was ready for it. I want you to work for me, she said, her smile stretching wider. And I will pay you handsomely. I mean, in millions. For every task you succeed in. My heart skipped. Okay, Ma. What kind of work exactly? She paused. Her eyes narrowed slightly, and she began to stammer. I want you to join me in the baby business. Baby business? I repeated, confused. What was she talking about? You're a nurse, right? She asked. Well, I need your help. I'm into a kind of business, where we exchange babies. Take a baby from one mother, give it to another. Sometimes we sell them. I'm currently looking for twins. Any gender. I'll pay you 5 million Nigerian nairas if you can get them for me. My heart jumped into my mouth. What? That's child trafficking, I shouted, jumping to my feet. She didn't flinch. Beatrice, calm down. Let's not call it that. Call it what it is, madam, I fired back. You want me to steal babies? Swap newborns? Ruin mothers' lives? That's not business, that's wickedness. She still smiled, as if nothing was wrong. 5 million, Beatrice. Don't act like you're not tempted. This deal could change your life. My heart stopped. Holy Ghost fire. God forbid. I shot to my feet. Is this the business deal that was supposed to change my life? I asked, trembling with disbelief. Beatrice, calm down, she said, still smiling like nothing was wrong. I'll pay you 5 million naira if you can get me twins. Any gender will do. 5 million? I echoed, stunned. Yes, don't miss this opportunity, she said smoothly, as if she was offering a cake, not a crime. No, I can't do this. I cried. I grabbed my bag and stormed out of her house. I didn't care who saw me. I didn't even look back. I just ran out of that estate, out of that evil space. My legs were shaking, my heart pounding. Luckily, I spotted a taxi down the road and jumped in immediately. I didn't ask the destination. I didn't care about the fare. I just wanted to escape. To leave that estate. That woman. That offer. But as the taxi sped away, her words echoed in my ears. 5 million, for twins. It kept ringing over and over in my head, making it hard to breathe, hard to think, hard to forget. The taxi dropped me off in front of our house. I walked in quietly, careful not to wake anyone. I slipped into my room, but that night was one of the hardest of my life. I couldn't sleep. Madam Cash's voice wouldn't stop echoing in my head. Her sweet offer, soft and tempting, replayed like a cursed melody. Just as I was about to force myself to sleep, my phone rang. It was her. Madam Cash. I stared at the screen, willing myself not to answer. That voice, that sweet, dangerous voice, I didn't want to fall for it. She called a second time. Then a third. Then she stopped. The next morning, I checked my phone. There it was, a message from her. I will always be waiting for you, Beatrice. Don't take too long, or you might regret losing this opportunity. I'm here for you. God forbid. Regret what? I muttered angrily and tossed the phone aside. I got ready for my morning shift, but her words stuck to me like smoke. I couldn't shake them off. Days passed. I tried to forget Madam Cash, but how do you forget someone when your reality keeps dragging her back into your thoughts? My landlord was on my neck. My siblings had been sent home from school. And my mother, my poor mother, still wasn't getting better. I lived with my family, and my little salary disappeared as soon as it came, used up on medications and hospital bills. My mother had been battling heart disease and diabetes for years. The tests, the drugs, the monitoring, it was never ending. Then one evening, there was a knock at the door. It was Baba Amadi, our landlord. Beatrice, he barked, I'm giving you just 1 month. If you don't pay the rent, I'll throw you and your entire family out of this house. You hear me? The door slammed. The sound echoed in my chest. I stood frozen, angry, bitter, helpless. Why is life this unfair? Then, my mind slipped to Madam Cash. God forbid. I whispered. I won't ask her for help. I tried to request a salary advance from the hospital, just something to ease the pressure a bit. The hospital manager listened quietly, then sighed and said, Let me call Dr. Gideon first. He needs to approve it. He stepped out and returned a few minutes later, shaking his head. Beatrice, I'm sorry, he said firmly. Dr. Gideon said no. He doesn't give salary advances in his hospital. His exact words were, This is a hospital, not a bank. She should find a way to fix her situation. My legs went weak. Fix myself? After everything? After all the years I had worked there? Even with the low salary and months of unpaid wages, I stayed. And now that I'm drowning, he says that. I swallowed my pride to borrow money from my colleagues, but no one admitted they had any. They all had different excuses. Anyway, I understand no one owes me anything. That night, frustration and pain twisted inside me like a knife. I stood by the window, watching the dark streets. I couldn't take it anymore. I was tired. Tired of suffering. Tired of fighting. Tired of being good with nothing to show for it. Then I did it. I picked up my phone and dialed Madam Cash. She answered immediately, like she had been waiting for me all along. I'm ready, I said slowly, but not for 5 million Nigerian nairas. There was a pause. We're talking about twins here. You and I both know this isn't a normal deal, the risk is too much. I want 10 million Nigerian nairas. My hands were shaking. I expected her to yell or hang up. But she didn't. Instead, she laughed soft and low. Beatrice, I understand. I was only trying to pity you. But fine. I'll pay you 10 million Nigerian nairas. My heart skipped. But, her voice suddenly turned cold, I want a clean job. No mistakes. No loose ends. No future problems. Yes, Ma, I said quickly. I'll find a pregnant woman with twins first, I told her. Then I'll figure out what to do next. Good, she replied. Then she paused. Her final words chilled my spine. And Beatrice, once you're in, there's no backing out. She ended the call. I stood still, staring at the phone in my hand. My breath was shallow. My chest tight. I had always been loved by everyone at the hospital, patients, nurses, even the doctors. So when I began secretly researching pregnant women carrying twins, it wasn't hard for me to blend in. I was calculating, quiet, and careful. One afternoon, while everyone was out for break, I snuck into the management office. My heart pounded as I flipped through files, desperately searching for records of women pregnant with twins, especially those due in their 9th month. But it wasn't as easy as I thought. The files were endless, and time was running out. So, I decided to change my approach. I'd get closer to women who looked like they were in their final trimester. That's when I noticed Amanda. She was always so quiet, so humble, always dressed like someone struggling to survive. I'd been friendly with her before, and she often joked that I'd be the one to deliver her baby. She had no idea how true that was about to become. One morning, during antenatal, I was in charge of handing patient folders to the doctor. Amanda came in, smiling weakly. Good morning, Nurse Beatrice, she said. Please, here's my card. I don't know what's happening to my body today. I feel strange. She looked different. Her stomach had dropped. Her face looked swollen and tired, classic signs of impending labor. I took her file and quickly flipped through it. 39 weeks. And then I saw it, twins, boldly written in her scan report. I swallowed hard and smiled, pretending nothing was unusual. All right, Amanda, I said calmly. Let me hand your file to the doctor. He'll call you in shortly. Minutes later, she was invited into the office. The doctor examined her and confirmed my suspicion. You're 1 centimeter dilated. Labor has started. Call your family to bring your hospital bag, he told her. Then he turned to me. Nurse Beatrice, you and Nurse Amora will be in charge of her delivery. I nodded, barely containing my excitement. As I walked Amanda to the ward, I asked, have you called your people? Her voice broke as she responded. I'm an orphan. I lost my husband months ago. I have no one. I'll rush home and get my things myself. A twinge of guilt stabbed me. She looked hurt, alone, vulnerable. But this was my only chance. All right, I said, my tone soft but firm. Don't waste time. But deep inside, I knew I couldn't do this alone. I needed someone ruthless. Someone who wouldn't hesitate. Nurse Amora. She was known for 2 things, her love for money and her dangerous relationship with the doctors. I approached her cautiously. The doctor assigned us to Amanda's delivery, I said. But I need your help. She raised a brow, intrigued. I explained everything, even told her about Madam Cash, the woman who promised me 10 million Nigerian nairas for a set of twins. To my surprise, Amora laughed. Beatrice, she said with a smirk. You think you're the first? I've done worse. My stomach twisted. You've sold babies before? She sighed and leaned closer. Don't act shocked. Just tell me what I'm getting. Don't be greedy. I offered her 3 million Nigerian nairas. She scoffed. Never. It's 50/50ths, or I expose you right now. After a heated argument, I gave in. We shook hands on it. The deal was sealed. I called Madam Cash. She was thrilled. Perfect. Once the babies are born, send my driver. I'll make the payment immediately, she said. No, I demanded. You must pay half first. I won't take chances. She hesitated, then said coldly, fine. But don't play games with me, Nurse Beatrice. I will haunt you down. Minutes later, my phone buzzed. 5 million Nigerian nairas alert. I almost screamed from joy. This was it, my breakthrough. I showed Amora the alert. But she turned dark. I want my share now. Or I tell everyone. Panic gripped me. She wasn't bluffing. I couldn't let my name be ruined. I immediately transferred her share. I tried to calm myself. Once the twins are delivered and handed to Madam Cash's driver, I whispered, I'll get the remaining 5 million Nigerian nairas. Everything will be fine. Everything had been carefully planned, almost as if fate itself had been on my side. The moment Dr. Amora had been asked to assist, it was as if the path ahead had cleared for me. I had no doubt everything would go as we intended. But time crawled by as we waited for Madam Amanda to return. Hours passed, yet she wasn't showing. A sinking feeling settled in my chest. What if she had delivered at home? Was everything falling apart? My mind raced, spiraling into worst-case scenarios. But Nurse Amora, calm and collected, reassured me. She'll come. Just wait. I tried to steady my breath, though I couldn't shake the dread. Then, just as the evening settled in, Madam Amanda arrived, barely conscious, in the back of a taxi. Her tiny frame was slumped, exhausted. Without wasting a moment, we rushed her straight into the theater. We had been assigned by the senior doctor to deliver her baby. My heart pounded in my chest. This was it. Calm down, I whispered, when I tell you to push, push quietly. Do you understand? She nodded weakly, and we began the process. The tension in the room grew thicker with each push. She struggled, exhausted and in pain. Keep going, we urged her, but she was barely able to respond. The pressure mounted, and we suggested a C-section, but she refused. No, she gasped, no one is signing anything. No one is paying that much for me. We had no choice but to proceed. She pushed with all her remaining strength, and at last, the babies were born. 2 beautiful, healthy baby boys. But she was fading fast. Her breathing was shallow, and she was losing consciousness. I rushed to call for help, to get oxygen mask, but before I could move, Dr. Amora stopped me. She leaned in close, her voice a low whisper. She's weak. Let her die. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. What? Amora's gaze hardened. It's easier this way. No one will notice. Let her go. I shook my head, desperate. I can't. I have to help her. But Amora grabbed my arm, pulling me back. You're too soft, she sneered. This is the plan. Let her die and we won't have to worry about replacing her child. Madam Amanda, weak and delirious, began to speak through her tears. Please, help me. I'm an orphan, my babies, they can't be orphans. Her voice was barely a whisper, but the desperation in her eyes was unmistakable. I wanted to scream, to fight back, but Nurse Amora's grip on me was ironclad. She wouldn't let me interfere. The last words I heard from Madam Amanda were chilling. God will judge you, don't hurt my twins, and then, with a final breath, she was gone. I was paralyzed with fear. She was dead. All because of us. We could have saved her. Oxygen mask. A doctor. Something. Anything. But it was too late. Tears streamed down my face as I realized the truth. Madam Amanda was gone because of our greed. I had failed her. Amora, cold as ever, snapped me out of my despair. Stop crying. The job is done. Now, take the twins and put them in the bag, she ordered as she turned away to retrieve the replacement babies. I was in shock, but I knew I had no choice. I called Madam Cash. Are you sure? She asked, her voice tight. I'm coming with my driver. Don't screw this up. Moments later, Nurse Amora appeared, holding 2 lifeless infants in her arms. She replaced Madam Amanda's babies without hesitation. What? I started to ask. Leave the questions to me, she cut me off, her voice dismissive. I've done this 100 times. Don't worry. Let's just get it over with. I stood there, frozen, as she packed the babies into a bag, making sure they would breathe. My stomach churned. But the plan was already in motion. It was too late to back out now. Amora's smirk said it all. We were too deep in this to turn back. Minutes later, I received a call from Madam Cash. I'm outside. Be careful. I walked toward the gate, clutching the bag with the babies. It was dark, perfect for slipping through unnoticed. I saw Madam Cash's car parked nearby and hurried over to her. She handed over the remaining balance, her eyes never leaving me. I passed her the bag, making sure no one saw us, no one followed. Amora was right there, watching the whole thing unfold. She knew every detail, every step, and nothing had gone wrong. I went back to the hospital, my hands trembling. Everything seemed fine. Everything was too smooth. But deep down, I knew there was no going back from what we had done. It's been over a week since the operation I had with Madam Cash. Everything was going smoothly. I had rented a better apartment for me and my family, my siblings were back in school, and most importantly, my mother was getting better. I switched her to a new doctor who was managing her illness, and I felt so relieved. Every time I checked my phone and saw the millions in my account, a smile spread across my face. I changed my wardrobe and leveled up. Life was beginning to feel like a dream. One day, my mother asked me how I managed to do all this with my low salary. I lied to her, telling her I had been promoted and was given a cash prize as one of the best nurses. She believed me immediately because, after all, she trusted the daughter she raised. But I felt guilty for disappointing her. But it was what it was. Things went so smoothly that I started contemplating doing another task for Madam Cash, maybe the 3rd or 4th one, to save enough money and open my own maternity clinic somewhere far away. Greed began to take hold of me, until one night. I had a dream. I saw her, yes, I saw Madam Amanda. She was chasing me angrily, shouting, "Nurse Beatrice, return my twins." I tried to ignore the dream, thinking it was just a nightmare, but it happened again. This time, thank God, my mother woke me up. She asked me what the problem was, but I refused to speak about it. The fear of that dream grew within me, and I found it harder to sleep at night. One night, I finally managed to fall asleep. But when I woke up, I found my room in disarray. My window was open. I was scared. The door was locked from the inside, but I could hear whispers, familiar whispers, "Return my twins, Nurse Beatrice." I knew it was Madam Amanda's voice. I ran out of my room, scared out of my mind. I was sure it was her that had scattered my room. I was paralyzed with fear. At work, I spoke to Nurse Amora about what was happening. I asked if she had experienced anything similar, but she said, no. She told me she had a native doctor covering her, ensuring that everything went smoothly for her. I was desperate, so I begged her to take me to the native doctor, and she agreed. The next day, we took permission from the hospital, and Nurse Amora, who now owned a car, drove me to a distant place. After a few hours, we arrived at a small hut with an elderly man inside. I explained my problems to him, and he laughed. "My daughter, you've messed with the wrong soul. The ghost was an orphan, a widow. Now, you've taken her children and made them orphans. The only solution is to return her twins and confess what you did." I pleaded with him, "No, I can't. I'll end up in jail. Please, I can't do this." He sighed and said, "Her spirit is everywhere. She's angry and ready to strike. Look for her relatives and confess what you did. If you don't, you'll regret it. Even you, Amora, I've been protecting you with charms, but I fear this is the end for you too. This ghost is weeping, and she's suffered enough. Please, leave my shrine now. I've delivered my message. As we left, I couldn't shake the fear that had taken over me. That night, I couldn't rest. I stayed in the sitting room, near my mother's room, trying to feel safe. But just as I was about to close my eyes, I heard a loud crash. When I opened my eyes, there she was, Madame Amanda, dressed in white. Her face was disfigured, her eyes burning with rage. She screamed, "Confess! Confess, or face my wrath," and then disappeared. I held myself together, trying not to wake my family. The next day, I tried calling Madame Cash to find out where the twins were, hoping I could return them and make things right. But her number was switched off. I tried again the following day, switched off. Worry set in. I decided to visit her house, only to find it sealed. I asked a neighbor and learned that Madame Cash had been arrested for trafficking drugs. It was then I realized just how evil she truly was, drug trafficking and ritual sacrifices. My heart sank. Who had she sold Madame Amanda's twins to? What had they been used for? As I walked home, lost in my thoughts, I got a call from one of my colleagues. It was Nurse Amora. She had passed away in her sleep. I screamed. This was it. I knew now that I was next. The native doctor had been right. It was all happening just as he had warned me. I reached home that day and locked myself indoors. I cried, feeling the weight of my greed and decisions. Why had I let myself be deceived? Why hadn't I just waited for God's timing? The dreams didn't stop. I was scared to confess, too afraid to face judgment and prison. But Madame Amanda wasn't joking. Her presence grew stronger, and her anger more evident. One night, as I slept, I saw her again. She chased me relentlessly. Just as I was about to escape, I tripped and fell into a deep pit. I heard her laugh. Finally, I and my twins can rest in peace. That was the moment. I died in that dream. And I never woke up. Now, my spirit wanders. There is no peace on earth, and there is no peace in the spirit world. All because I couldn't let go of my greed. All because I didn't confess. The moral lesson of this story is, greed can destroy what patience could have built. In life, shortcuts may look easy, but they often lead to regret. Always do the right thing, no matter how tough life is, because every choice has a consequence, and not all wounds can be healed. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, share, and comment your thoughts below. Thank you so much for watching.